Few people give much thought to the small waterway as they drive along the Waterhouse Road at Barnbougle, east of Bridport. There have been some amazing golfing and agricultural developments at Barnbougle in the last 20 years, but these would not have been possible without Adams Cut. Edward Booth Adams bought the Barnbougle property in the early 1920s, when it was subject to flooding from the Great Forester River. In 1899, Edward Adams fought in the Boer War in Africa. After the war, he bought numerous large blocks of land at Jerusalem Plains, Double Sandy Point, Wanda Valley and Umtali. The Great Forester River has created a huge floodplain before it empties into Anderson's Bay at Bridport. A 1910 land map shows that at times Edward owned a significant amount of land in around Bridport. Edward also fought in World War I and on return purchased Barnbougle and Mulmarnie properties. In 1920, with a small team of men and his brother Gordon, he started to drain the large tea tree plain of the Great Forester River. The aim was to redirect the lower reaches of the river by building a series of canals or cuts. Despite the government surveyor saying it wasn't feasible, the Adams brothers persisted, and using bullocks, horses, ploughs and scoops, they cut through the tea tree swamp. It took 3 years to complete the scheme after an initial start was silted up by sand. There are at least 7 major cuts or canals that remove some of the serpentine bends, allowing a faster and more direct flow of water. The remaining tea trees on the banks of the cut give some idea of the vegetation that once covered this whole area. These next 2 cuts were the longest and most difficult to dig. It was here in 1913 that E.B. Adams started draining the swamp with a grant of £600 from the government. Unfortunately, the money ran out before completion and the sand quickly filled in the drain. It's hard to believe that the river originally ran in the same direction and position as the bridge that now crosses the cut. It had been diverted by the huge sand dunes close to the beach. It's hard to comprehend just how much effort was needed to cut through this tall sand dune. No wonder it took 3 years to complete. In places, the waters of the Cut or Great Forester River threaten to cut back through to the original river course. Richard Sattler of Barnbougle has had to construct rock walls to prevent this. I think Edward Buse Adams would have been pleased to see what his efforts in draining the Barnbougle swamps have led to. This area has undergone tremendous change over the last 200 years. First, an area of diverse ecological values, including plants, fish and wildlife, appreciated by Tasmanian Aborigines. Because of its rich alluvial soil and abundant water, it then became a valuable agricultural district, growing vegetables during World War II. Today it has diversified with beef cattle, pastures and a world-famous links golf course, attracting people from all over the world to brave a challenging environment. Nature still flexes her muscles, allowing us to turn back the clock to earlier times. It is still a natural habitat for wildlife including black swans, Cape Barren geese, ducks and egrets. An area where carrots once grew occasionally hosts the Peroni polo competition.
Zanny there, nice little back shopping chair. Oh, big shot there from Jones, heading straight to goal, it's looking good.
In July 1831, George Augustus Robinson was carried through the terraqueous land on a catamaran built by the Aborigines. Most of the land was under 3 feet of water and covered by tall and thick tea trees. Edward Adams cuts have dramatically changed the land since 1845, when surveyor Scott could only traverse the property by boat.